It's time for another Dice Tower review with the Chief, Bart Brunchine.
All right, are we ready?
Ready.
All right, it's the Chief from the Dice Tower, and again, I'm joined with the Mirror Warmongers, the opposite of Tom, Z, and Sam. We're going to be talking about war games, and in particular today, we're going to talk about our favorite war games of 2013, and maybe a little hitch in that deal on that real quick, but we'll get to that when we introduce. So, right. Favorite or top war games of 2013.
Top five.
Top five. What did I say?
Top
5 of 2013. And we started. Let's go ahead and Judd, you want to go first?
I'm ready. I'll go first. My number 5 is Ghost Panzer by Worthington Games. The only reason it's number 5 is because it's an add-on, not an expansion, standalone game to Band of Brothers. Band of Brothers kind of blew me away when I first saw it. The Screaming Eagle. Sorry, this is Band of Brothers Ghost Panzer. And it introduces a few new rules and changes the proficiency rules a little bit. I'm still torn. I'm not sure if I like the change. It's a little more simpler. But no, it's the only reason why is because it's not as original as the other one, but it just adds a new front and it does introduce some new ideas. My favorite squad level game of the system of all of them that I've played.
All right, I'm supposed to be getting this pretty soon to give it a shot, so I'm intrigued. So, and I love tanks. All right, and Greg, and if Greg, you could explain your philosophical differences.
Okay, after I got here, they explained to me that what they were intending was the top games produced during 2013. To me, these are the top games that I played during the year. These are the ones that really stood out as good playing experiences during the year.
Now, Greg is usually a member of the Cult of the New.
No, no, that is incorrect.
That's probably more of me.
I am not a Cult of the New guy. I play games until I understand them. If something comes out, I'll play Band of Brothers, and then if I decide that's good, but I'm not going to get the next one, no, I am not a Cult of the New.
You're also a completist. You got to have everything, though.
No, that is also incorrect. We have a little problem with perception here. No, so, for instance, I've got a lot of ASL stuff, but I don't have all ASL stuff. I play a lot of Combat Commander, but the only Combat Commander I've got is Combat Commander Europe. I don't have Pacific or Mediterranean or Partisans or Resistance or any of the follow-ons. I play a game and I enjoy the games I play.
And so there will be a slight difference with his list. Judd and I will each have games that are brand new for 2013 that we liked, and for Greg, it's what you enjoyed in 2013.
Right.
So take her away, sir.
And my number 5 game is Sekigahara. For those who don't know, this is a very elegant, it's a block game, but it's card handled. It's by a guy named Matt Calkins. I meet him every year at WBC. This is a very unusual design. You're moving blocks around the map. It's a battle in Japan in the year 1600. You're moving blocks around, but you've got a small handful of cards. You start with only 5 cards. You get up to, only 5 get replaced in a turn. But if you use a card to move troops, the card won't be there to assist you in combat. So you've really got a decision to make on how to. It is the hand management card game for me. And the reason why this was my game, my number 5 game for 2013, is because I finally figured out a strategy for how Ishida can win the game. That's the yellow side in the game. They start with 40% of their troops off the map. And I had a heck of a time figuring out how to win with that side. And I finally got it, figured out how to do it. And then I told, for those of you who attend BGG Con, I told Rusty Ballinger my tip for how to win as the Ishida side. And he came back and told me that he won a couple games with the Ishida side using my strategy. So that kind of reinforcement makes it my number 5 game for 2013.
Now, isn't there a big choke point on the map? I know it's Japan anyway, but I remember playing and I ran into a problem. Obviously, I'd only played a couple times, but there's a choke point in the middle that I had a hard time getting through.
The highways lead to the middle.
Okay.
But actually, yeah, there's a place down to the side that, yeah, all the mustering points are near there. So,
okay.
But that's where the actual Battle of Sekigahara occurred.
Makes sense. So. Perfectly. I'm sure I knew that at the time. My number 5, you can actually see behind me, even though I'm trying to cover it with my body. All right, it's Ogre. Now I knew I'm just going to do this. It's 28 pounds. I'm not moving it. Until this Steve Jackson Deluxe Designers Edition came out, I didn't even know about Ogre. What I like about Ogre, I'm not saying it's the best game of all time, best war game of all time, or anything like that. I know there's some contention on it. I even had one person tell me it's not a war game, but I love the asymmetric, and I know it goes in later and changes it with the GEV. Yeah, the GEV changed that up, but I love the idea that it's this one massive, autonomous, robot-controlled behemoth ogre that's going up against a bunch of more conventional forces, and it's the one overpowering ogre against all these other units and just kind of throwing them at each other. I like that feel. It's huge. I actually like the work they put into it, the love that went into it, even with the boxes and the wood ogres that you put together. And so that's why it's my number 5 for 2013. We'll move on to our number 4, and
okay. My number 4 game of the year. The reason, and number 4 played game of the year is Washington's War, and the reason for that is because that's the first game where I tried to play using Vassal. We haven't finished the game yet because when it comes to online play, I play mostly face-to-face. I play every Wednesday, every Thursday, 2 times a week with our group. I've got 4 online games going with ACTS, and I use Cyberboard, but I never use Vassal. So this was a positive experience this year because I've tried to use Vassal. I'm still not good at it, but that's why this was a number 4 for the year, because it got me into a new piece of online gaming.
Very good. My number 4 is on someone else's list a little bit later, so we'll both talk about it then.
And my number 4 is on somebody else's list.
So
not the same as his.
Yeah, so we slide on
So
through.
I'll go to my number 3.
Perfect.
Which is on Bart's number 4.
That's right. We'll let you go ahead and introduce her first.
This is a multiplayer game. It's called the Coin series, Counterinsurgency. It does an excellent job. There's of asymmetrical play. If you try to teach this game, you've got to teach the game 4 times because every side plays it differently.
Right.
But once people know the game, it just flows. It tells a story. Why don't you go for a while?
Andy and Abyss. What amazes me about it in the series is it's really the problems with modern combat. You have drug cartel, you have the government. I'm trying to remember the FARC.
The right-wing military that nominally help the government.
Right.
But really aren't. And then the left-wing communists who want everybody, they want everybody to fail.
Right, and to have them, once again, Greg introduced this game to me. He told me about it. I'd heard a little something about it, and I was immediately intrigued just for what it's doing. That is, I wouldn't have thought it was doable. It's asymmetric, how it works together. It was a little bit mind-bending for me just because I wasn't used to it all, but I love what's going on here, and I love the more coin series that are coming out.
And if you don't know the card system that's used in this whole coin series, that's also very innovative. You don't have a hand of cards. All you know is the card you're playing now and the next card that's coming up. And so a lot of times you might know, I'm not going to do anything on this card because I really want to use that next card. And then as soon as that card comes up and you see the next one, it's like, oh, this one is even better. I can't do anything again. And so part of is that what's interesting is the decisions that makes you make. But the other thing that it does is it speeds the play of the game, because you can only have 2 people doing anything on a card anyway. So that's my number 3 game for the year, because it has been a big hit everywhere I've gone, all the conventions and all of the play here in our group.
Yeah, I think, I don't know if it'll be Andy and Abyss, but I believe that there's going to be a coin series game, and it could be Andy and Abyss, that'll have some crossover appeal, I think. I know it's not as, I don't want to say light as Twilight Struggle, but
if any of them, I think if any of them has crossover, it would be Cuba Libre, just because it's a little smaller, and it's a little less comprehensive geographically.
Yeah. My number 3, let me get around Ogre, sorry. Now this is going to throw some people. It's Napoleon, the Waterloo Campaign 1815. You're going to say, yeah, that didn't come out 2013. The Kickstarter 4th version, I think. It's version 4, is it 3? I think it's 4th version came out. And I'm including it as, I'm saying it's new because they added something that wasn't in the other ones. Yes, the map got bigger, the blocks got bigger, they blinged up the blocks with the foil type of shiny sticker that's on there, but it added in these green blocks that are terrain blocks that are down on your actual battle map. And that's new. And I've talked to some other people that have played it in the past. Judd, of course, has the older version, played a lot of it. It adds a little bit more tactical level stuff on that battle map. Again, if you've seen our top games of all time, I like more tactical level stuff. I'm not as much on the strategic, overlord level. So that's why I like this. I'm not, usually if I'm in the Napoleonic era, I'm doing something with some wooden ships. That may be even a hint for later, but I liked that little add-on in here. So
and I'm glad that the Iron Man said that. It's interesting that because I almost picked that in one of my top 5 of all time, because the original version of it was like the starting point for the block games.
Right.
And such a nice mix of tactical, operational movement, and tactical decision. So, yeah, it's a good game.
Okay, my number 3 is not backwards. It is. I'm cheating here a little bit too, as my piece is all crumbled.
Cheating. You can't get this.
You cannot buy this. I'm one of the few people on earth who have it. Yeah. It is called Hands in the Sea. I helped play test it during 2013. Part of my problem, I only bought 5 games during 2013. Lincoln's War never got played. I forgot all about Napoleon, or he might have been in there. But this game is not published. That's the only reason I have it at 3. If it was published, it would probably be number 1. It would probably be my top 5 of all time.
Well, tell them what it's like.
This game it's put out by Daniel Berger designed it. You may know him from Caesar's Gallic War, which is one of the best of the Hammer of the Scots. I think it's the best version of it. It is based on, it's a deck building war game. And you're like, huh? Yeah, it's based on the core mechanics off Martin Wallace's A Few Acres of Snow.
Which is broken.
Yeah.
No, it's not. I don't believe it's broken. I just threw that out there to make people upset.
But when you say that, that creates a lot of strong emotions in people.
Yes, it does.
Halifax Hammer, Euro, things like that. This is, now he uses the deck builder concept. You don't want to fatten your deck up too much. You use the cards to move, develop, settle, places like that. Combat system is, the land combat system is used from it. But in this case, you actually have, instead of a guy who focuses on Euro design, he's a war gamer through and through. And he's an expert on ancient history, so he really captures it in there. And this is a genuine war game. You are managing supply, much more than Acres, where you're just, going back to Quebec. You could actually, if you're on Sicily, this is the first Punic War, I should have said that up front. And the name comes from basically the Carthaginians said, we're going to control the sea so much, Rome will be afraid to put their hands in the sea.
I love that.
Yeah, very cool.
Sorry,
but anyways, if you're on Sicily and you're Rome, if you want to be in supply, you either got to conquer Syracuse, who starts the game neutral, quite historical, or you better control the seas. It's a very small area. So Bart and I have actually played Acres. We both like it. But we've actually played a game where we never fought. It was just all development, which is very Euro-ish. This one is very small. It's Corsica, Sardinia, and Sicily. Very small. You are going to run into each other. You can't get through this game without being right up against each other. And you are going to draft them, draft up all your military units. And unlike Acres, you want every card in that Empire deck. There's no fur trader for the English that's never get used. You want them. There's elephants in it. They are very powerful. They're unpredictable. But also it's not just Acres redone. He added a lot to it. There's random events. There's actually turns. You just don't play to the end game. When Carthage runs out, that's the end of the turn. There are up to 12 turns in the game. There are random events based on historical events. If you're familiar with the story of the chickens and the bad omens, if not, you should look it up. It's pretty cool. Things like that can affect
You know about the
game.
chickens?
Not specifically.
Okay.
Nope.
Basically, Rome was going into battle, and they threw some feed out to the chickens. If they eat it, it's a good idea. They wanted to eat it. The general, threw them in the water and said, if they're not going to eat, let them drink.
I do the same thing when I'm preparing to play Greg.
So anyway, it uses the deck building concept of you want every card, but if your deck gets fat, it's hard to do anything. You can't thin it out. There is no Halifax hammer strategy in it. It was very hard to do naval invasions. Only one was done, so he made the rules very difficult. And there's no direct line into Rome or Carthage. And like I said, it's you got combined arms bonuses. So the guy's a war gamer at heart, and he designed a brilliant war game. Uses the core of the system, but then added a lot to it.
And he's been talking to some publishers, right?
Yes, he's talking. There's one right now. It's in the queue. He told me I just talked to him today to get an update.
Perfect.
Okay.
Very good. All right. We're headed on to number two.
Number two for me for the year is Twilight Struggle. Everybody who's anybody knows about Twilight Struggle. #1 game on Board Game Geek. It's one of my top 5 games of all time. The reason why it's such a good 2013 game for me is because every time I go to a convention, and I go to WBC, I go to Geekway in St. Louis, I go to Board Game BGG Con, I go to plug for JerkCon, which is the February convention in Richmond, Indiana. Of all the conventions in Richmond, Indiana over President's Day weekend, it's one of the best.
Now I got to find out, how to jerk. Does it mean like somebody is an idiot or mean?
The derivation of that is back in the day. This is our 9th year for JerkCon. Back in the day, there was a team at WBC that was called Circle of Jerks. And those people decided that...
It's kind of dirty.
Yes, it is. That's why I wanted to go on. But no, you had to expand on it.
Sorry.
Thank you very much.
Sorry, I took it somewhere I didn't know where it was going.
So that's in August. So we decided we want to get together 6 months later in February and just see the same people. We game over a weekend at this guy's house. And we have people from Kansas, Texas, California, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Louisiana. We just meet at this guy's house in Richmond, Indiana, and play games for a weekend.
Sounds like good time.
But I play a lot of Twilight Struggle. In our group here, there's people, what do you want to do? We got a couple hours, let's play a game of Twilight Struggle. It is the card-driven game that I think knowledge of the deck improves your play more than any of the others.
Yes.
And I know the deck, and I really like playing it. And I've just had some wonderful games this year of Twilight Struggle. I'm involved in an online game right now. Had some others going on. That's my #2 positive game for 2013.
I can't stand Dougal. He makes me very angry.
And once you learn to handle it, it's not that bad.
I know it's changed my perception of Dougal. I don't like Dougal after playing Twilight Struggle.
I can understand that.
That's all I'm saying.
And I find the same thing. I play games and then I read and learn the history.
Yes, yes, War Games. Mine is Sails of Glory. I don't have a copy here. I actually have played a prototype that I got from the publisher. We do have a game buddy that we have that got everything off the Kickstarter, and I can't wait to play it. That's Doug. Okay. Doug has it all coming. and I'm looking forward to it. Sails of Glory. I'm a big wooden ships, Iron Men game. I love the Age of Sail, the maneuver that takes place, having your guys at the gun. Again, it's a very thematic thing for me. You know, a good broadside, a crossing the T, getting your maneuver in, and that guy knows it's coming because things happen just a little bit slower. You got to set them up, and you can't just change something right away. So I was thrilled to death when Sails of Glory was even coming up when I heard it was going to be a Kickstarter. So
I don't even, what?
It uses the, what's the old plane driven? I'm blanking on it now, where you have your planes and you set down your maneuver on your card.
Dauntless and Rise of the Luftwaffe?
No. And you guys are probably Wings of Glory. And then it's Wings of Glory now. It was Wings of War.
The one with the miniatures.
Yes, the miniatures you can play with the card, and then it was and now they have Wings of Glory.
Right.
Was like the refresh of it.
Right.
And they came out, thus the name Sails of Glory. So, and I never got into that too much. I'm a big World War II fan, and I love the Air War, but everybody I'd ever talked to said it really plays much better with the slower World War I planes, which was never really my theme. And when I saw this, and the ships are gorgeous, but enough said.
We have two.
We're on our number two.
Number two. My number two is Hold the Line, Frederick's War, put out by Worthington Games, designed by Sean Chick. When I got this, I knew nothing about the War of Austrian Succession. My first question was, well, who did Austria secede from? So it's succession in the royal sense. That tells you what I learned. So I love to use war games as a learning experience. What I worried about when I got it was that it was just going to be Hold the Line, that I could take my Hold the Line pieces, pretend the British is Prussia and Americans are Austria, and set up the scenario and play them. It's going to be the same game. It is not. That's why I have it so high. It was actually one of my biggest surprises of the year. He took the rules, he upgraded them. It uses the same core. If you know Hold the Line, you know most of this in there. But the emphasis changed. Artillery's not nearly as powerful. Cavalry charges are. Come up with a lot of really clever ideas in here. Also put out an expansion. I pre-ordered it from Worthington when they threw in the Highland Charge scenario for free, which is Scotland and England. And it's a great system. And Hold the Line, I like the American Revolution as a topic a lot more, but for gameplay, this one's probably a little more enjoyable. So that it really shocked me. That just wow. So, and the guy really knows his history. If you know him from the Geek, Gittes, G-I-T-T-E-S. He writes some wonderful geek lists on history and various topics and generals and things like that. So I believe he's like a professor in it. So, you know, you're always going to get a good solid history, and the scenarios have great backgrounds. That's my number two.
Cool. Yeah. And our number one.
My number one is Advanced Squad Leader. I combine the starter kit with the basic game. To me, if you know one, you'll know them both. You'll like them both. The reason why it's my number one game of the year is because it's the game I play the most during the year. I do a lot of face-to-face gaming, but every year I get in 20, 25 games of ASL. Of all types, and every game, you know, I've lost count of how many of them go right down to the last die roll, the last attack, the last close combat. It's a game that it tells a story. It tells the whole story of World War II. If you got, you know, American, German, Russian, British, French, Japanese, Chinese, all of the terrain for all of it. It is my number one game of this year and every year because it's a game I never get tired of.
Very good. Very good. Oh, I forgot. We've got a new button that Greg made first too. 2013, it was a very good year. So once again, that's his theme. That's his theme, not just games 2013. I will go next. I'm going to pull out 1775, which was also what number on Judd's? All right, 1775. Again, this comes from Academy Games. Bo Beckett and Jeff Stahl are the designers. They did 1812 beforehand. Now, just to tell you the difference, 1812 uses the same exact system. It's really this cool little dice roll-off thing that you're doing. But the difference between 1812 and 1775 is 1812 was more about maneuver. It was really about getting your troops to come down, and it felt a lot more maneuverous. You couldn't just turn on a dime in 1812. 1775, because of the colonies, if you control a colony, you can actually put your resources, which you're picking up on your turn, and put them right into the colony, which means there's a lot of like knife fights going on over these colonies, and if you can get it and control it, you can start throwing your resources right into the middle and really start popping out. And I just find it to be, I feel it's more battle conflict oriented. I still like 1812, but 1812 definitely feels more like I'm always trying to figure out how am I going to move. So that's why I love 1775, and I just love that dice. I've done a separate review where we go into it more, but the dice rolling that you do in the turn order and everything. And
I enjoy this much more than 1812, because I find that 1812, when I've played it, it's like there are games that I characterize as you just try to move close and roll high. Yeah. And there isn't really any overall strategy associated with it. And I think the inclusion of the colonies in this game really improved the game, and for a proven set of mechanics. It just makes the game, to me, much more focused and much more enjoyable to play.
Now, did I steal your thunder?
No, not at all. One of the things I really think is cool in this, and 1812 uses it also, you have 3 different possibilities when you fight: hit, miss, or flee. British don't flee. Militia, much more likely to flee, less likely to hit. What that is, when you roll the dice, it has the symbols on it, which will make some real hardcore girls about that. But when you think about it, those are combat results tables. Instead of having different ones for different groups, it's built right into the dice. And I thought, man, that's really cool. So I really enjoyed that. I liked how they handled the Hessians and the French in this. I wondered when you mentioned that this was coming out how they were going to do it. You get the card, you get so many units, and they have their own dice. But when they're gone for good. You don't get them back.
Right.
So you got to be really careful how you use them.
And the Native Americans.
Yes, and I like how they can go either way.
Yeah, you can be controlling the Native Americans, and if you lose your last unit in that territory, they immediately switch to the other side. And so there can be these little mini battles over just, hey, there's a lot of Native Americans up there. I'm going to go get them. You didn't leave enough garrisoned, basically, and I'm going to go take them. And it's just a nice, cool push that happens there.
And the cubes did, first when I saw 1812, I thought, cubes, Euro. No, it's really not. You could have put plastic in there and then had people screaming American trash.
That wouldn't have helped any.
Yeah, but counters aren't going to work as well. What it is just a nice way to, because if you are the Americans and then you have the militia players turn, if there's Americans in that space, you can activate them all. And it's a real easy way to see right on the board at any second how much strength you have of each right there. And that was a really nice system. So yeah, it's not Euro at all. I mean, it's very much conflict. It's about punching the guy in the mouth, taking his land.
And it's interesting that you would say that, because cubes also come in Andean Abyss. You've got the cubes for the guerrilla bands around there. You've got little cylinders for the bases that are around there. But when I saw that game being played, when it was being developed, I looked at that and I thought, that's a cool war game that I want to play. And the cubes didn't push me away at all.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, and same thing here.
Yeah, when you put the different the big block for each guy in a bag and pull them out, and that tells you that's just chip pull. It's a clever chip pull. I mean, it's got nice components of what it really does. But it's you have chip pull, you have built-in combat results tables for different units. So it looks different than what you're used to seeing. It's not an old SPI style game, but it's very high quality production. And I really like this one a lot better than 1812. 1812 was a good game, but why I say this is a very good game.
Yeah, agree.
Yep, that's my number 1.
Okay, my number 1, Gettysburg 150 by Worthington Games. Fortunately, because we did 2013, I didn't have to worry. Both of my children got me a war game for Christmas, so I was like, I'm going to have to do a tie. The other one was Mercury Market Garden. My other daughter got me spit out in 2012, so I don't have to pick, and so don't have any daughters upset at me or anything. Both are good games, by the way. This uses the command action point system, better known as Hold the Line. It puts it on a much larger scale. Hold the Line, you usually get 3 to 6 or so command points to use. This one you're getting 6 to 12. The system works really well. What I really like is instead, and hold the line, everybody's firing 3 dice, and you hit maybe 6 or 5 to 6 depending on your range. And if the other guy's in terrain, it'll bump it up. So where you were 5 to 6, you're now 6. This one, you actually lose dice. So if you're going up a ridge, instead of 3 dice, you're rolling 2 dice. If you're going up Little Round Top, it's 1 dice. Very, very difficult to take those spots, as it should be. Once the Union gets up there, it is hard to drive them off. The leader system is very good in this too, when they got, you know, Lee and Hill and the guys like that in there. They're used to rally, but it takes the hold the line system, puts on a much larger scale, and the system transitioned really smooth. It's my favorite of the Gettysburg games that I've played.
Cool. Gettysburg 150. Greg.
I already did mine.
Oh, we're done.
We're done.
What am I thinking? Wow, crazy man. Here, I was going to give Greg another one from 1892 that you could have.
That's right. Thank you very much.
Just teasing, sorry. So there we go, guys. Our best of 2013, from 2013, and of 2013. But there you go. There you go.
These are our top 5. We're half as much, but we're twice as good.
He's going to keep pushing that. He's going to keep pushing that. That's good. All right, I like it. See you guys later. Bye.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.